So on the off chance you didn't hear, President Obama was reelected to a second term about a week ago. Now this came as a shock to conservatives because they were convinced that Romney would win. It was just a matter of what the margin of victory would be. Apparently even the Romney campaign was surprised. That's why their concession speech was so short they hadn't expected they would have to give one, so they didn't even write one. Now many people have pointed to this as evidence that conservatives live in a bubble, because most of the polls showed that Obama was going to win. In fact, Nate Silver's 538 blog at the New York Times picked all 50 states correctly. Now, a lot of conservatives have pushed back on this accusation, saying that a wrong prediction doesn't necessarily mean they're in a bubble, and they would be correct on that point. They've also accused liberals of living in a bubble themselves. Now, let me put this on the table before I go on. All human beings suffer from the same cognitive deficiencies like confirmation bias that make it extremely difficult for us to change our minds and to see things from a different perspective. That's why in politics, though not exclusively, but especially, you have lots of bubbles. I don't deny that. But there is something significant that sets conservatives apart both in this instance and in general. Conservatives believe that the biggest problem they have is that there's a massive conspiracy against them, that the media, the university, and the entertainment industry are all working against their interests. They say it's not just that these institutions are populated mostly by liberals, which they are, it's that they are coordinated together to try and destroy conservative values and actively push a liberal agenda. A report of the media that is unfavorable to conservatives or favorable to the president cannot be trusted because we all know the press is already in the tank for Obama. Global warming and evolution are taught in the universities not because they're science, but because liberals want to destroy American prosperity with a climate hoax and secularize America with biological atheism. Universal Studios, which is owned by Comcast, a massive corporation, made the film The Lorax not because they wanted to cash in on a story and a brand which had already proven to be lucrative, but because they have a radical environmentalist agenda which they want to indoctrinate into children. Whenever something goes wrong for conservatives, they blame one of these institutions, and then they turn around and lecture the rest of us about taking personal responsibility. But this time they overreached when they started saying these things about polls. Now people usually doubt polls that are disagreeable to their position, but conservatives took it up a notch. They not only accused the pollsters of inaccurately oversampling Democrats, they accused the pollsters of deliberately doing this in hopes of helping the president win re-election. That was precisely the claim they made. Obama's slight but consistent lead in the polls was a plot by the pollsters to help him get re-elected. Here is Ben Shapiro, one of the late Andrew Breitbart's lieutenants, articulating just that idea on Twitter. Why is anyone shocked by the poll bias? The polls are run by the same folks who run the mainstream media. Now let's review the reasons why this is ridiculous. First of all, ask yourself this. What are the odds that all the pollsters, except for the two that had Romney winning, were surreptitiously juicing their numbers in hopes to help the president win re-election when stacked against the odds that the president was actually ahead? Second, unlike the media, the university, and the entertainment industry, election pollsters are solely in the business of making predictions. Their livelihood depends upon the accuracy of these predictions. How they feed their children is hanging in the balance. And conservatives would have you believe that they put this all on the line for the greater cause of getting the president reelected. That accusation is so absurd that it can be accurately labeled a conspiracy theory. On top of that, they suspended their belief in this nonsense whenever the poll was favorable to Romney. All of a sudden the corrupt pollsters became credible. All of a sudden the pollsters could be trusted. So there you have selective skepticism on top of a conspiracy theory. I'd say that's living in a bubble.